こんにちは、ハリケーンフットボールです。今回の教材は、サッカー日本代表に関する動画です。サッカー日本代表は、3月のインターナショナルウィークの第2戦で、イングランドと対戦し、1-0で勝利しました。これがイングランド相手の史上初めてとなる歴史的な勝利であり、日本中のサッカーファンが歓喜したのではないでしょうか。一方でイングランドファンは、親善試合だからという絶対的な言い訳がある一方で、この敗戦から学ばないといけないという論調が多いように感じます。今回は、スカイスポーツで各ニュースペーパーの記事をもとに、国内でどのように取り上げられているのかを話しつつ、日本の完成度の高さも強調しながら称賛しています。実際にどのように話しているのかチェックしてみましょ
う。Right, let's have a look at what the papers are saying. We're going to go to the Star first, gents. A no Kane, no gain. Foden and co fluffed their lines as toothless lions sunk without Harry. Yes, Harry Kane not involved in this one because of a minor knock he suffered in training. And as a result, it was a false nine with Phil Foden playing in that position. Toothless is the word, isn't it, Riath?
Yeah, pretty sad. I thought they were very poor tonight. I think we can all apply the perspective of saying it's a friendly, it's a warm-up, and probably half of that side won't be starting in the summer. But it was really poor, and I think going to the Star headline of no Kane, no gain, I think the real value of a game like this is obviously how you experiment, what you look to, and Kane's injury gave them the opportunity, because that is one of the big questions. I think it's what we saw in the Euros a couple of summers ago as well, whereby when Kane isn't either fully fit or fully functioning, what do you do without him? And the answer tonight was pretty bleak. I think, again, if you were to try and sort of temper it a little, you'd still say that Plan A is pretty good. That is a really strong starting 11 that you can pick when everyone is fit, when everyone's available, and arguably when Arsenal give permission for everyone to turn up. I'm just being a little facetious there. But look, I think in terms of Foden as a false nine, that didn't work. I think the more worrying aspect as well is Palmer as well. Palmer was very poor tonight, I thought. And between them, there was no relationship. There was no link up or sort of innate understanding between the two of them. And I think this kind of goes to what England's problem has been across the year. If you look at the Premier League form, that they've got this absolute abundance of fantastic number 10 attacking midfield kind of players, and they've all gone off the boil at approximately the same time, and that has to be a concern. I'm glad that he tried it tonight. It's a better time to try it than in a World Cup. They do need to have that option for when Kane isn't there. I don't think I saw anything tonight on this limited evidence that told me that it was an answer. I thought they probably looked a little better, even though Solanke didn't have a great game when he came on. I still think that they look a more natural side when they've got that structure and system in place. But it was a good idea to try it. It just came off quite horribly on the night.
Let's have a look at the Times. Henry, England go back to the bad old days, it says here. Japan teach Tuchel's side a lesson at Wembley, where you are right now. So is that a little harsh? Does that feel an apt description, that it did feel like a little bit of a throwback to when England were very ineffectual sometimes?
Yeah, I mean, Tuchel's been talking about the need to keep possession because England are going out to the World Cup in the States and the temperature is going to be high there in some of the games, 23 plus. It was 12, 13. I mean, I've been slightly brave and taken my jacket off. And, you know, they were giving possession away. Cole Palmer obviously gave the ball away for the first. So, and I think that Times headline is a fair reflection on what it was. It was very disappointing. I mean, there is a slight need to keep these games into perspective. I don't completely buy Tuchel's argument that everyone's sort of focused on their club football. I mean, you know, there were 11 Japanese starters who played for clubs and they were fairly focused on doing well and they looked well organised. But the Phil Foden thing, I mean, that was just crazy decision by Tuchel to do that, because England have been building throughout the campaign into this 4-2-3-1 system with obviously Kane up front. Without Kane, then you just bring in another number 9. Okay, there's a gap between Kane and Solanke. Everyone accepts that. But at least the system would remain the same rather than trying this sort of hybrid system. Phil Foden is a terrific player, but he's a sort of 10 or attacking midfielder. He's not a number 9. You saw when O'Reilly got that cross in the first half, you know, he was out jumped. So I felt sorry for Foden. I thought it was a really good night to be Jude Bellingham, who's obviously sort of injured and couldn't play. But I mean, I think that highlighted absolutely why he has to be England's number 10. I think all this nonsense and this noise around Jude Bellingham, Tuchel's just got to ignore that and think you got a player there who believes, who is world class, who can take games like this, group games, knockout games. He's shown it at Real Madrid. He's shown it with England at the Euros, and believe in him. And I thought that even the DJ at the end was having a little bit of fun. By the first song spun at the final whistle was Hey Jude, followed by Things Can Only Get Better. So, you know, which was, you know, we laugh about it, but this is serious stuff. And England, you know, the clock is ticking. The next time they will step foot on the field is in the 2 games in Florida. They have to start betting in. Look at Japan. Japan have been building. They've got a good coach. They've got a good system. They all know what they're doing. Okay, they can be vulnerable from set pieces, and that might limit how far they progress in the summer. But I tell you what, they're far more organised than England. Those players know what they're doing. They've got a system that they respect and they've been bedded into. And England actually had a pretty good system, which they then threw away tonight with a false 9 until Solanke came on.
In terms of sort of winners and losers and individuals and their, I suppose, positions now vis-a-vis the World Cup, obviously you mentioned Foden, mentioned Cole Palmer, and Jude Bellingham, without even being involved, benefiting because those other 2 couldn't really try and nail down that number 10 spot. In the Mirror, Japan is the headline, but the picture there is of Elliot Anderson. Listen, I think Elliot Anderson at least had some drive about him tonight, Riath. He always seemed to want to go driving towards that 18-yard box, creating a little bit of havoc, a bit of movement. But do you think that he at least has improved his chances? He was in Thomas Tuchel's plans anyway, for sure.
I think he was already a nailed-on starter with Declan Rice, if he wasn't, he should have been. He was good tonight in so much as any of them were. But look, I'd make the case for Harry Maguire, not necessarily, well, not as a starter, but I think he showed in the fact that the only things that England did of any remote promise this evening came in the last 10, 15 minutes from set pieces. And you see just how often he's able to stick his head on it, that he is a threat. He's also an extremely good centre half. He's also someone with leadership quality in that group. So I'd say it's been a decent break for him. I think it's been a reasonable break for Marcus Rashford as well. I don't think Anthony Gordon necessarily did himself any great favours this evening over on the left. I wouldn't really be inclined to isolate too many people because I thought collectively they were dire. But those 3 we've mentioned there all look good. I'd probably still like to see. I'm a massive fan of Nico O'Reilly, but I'd still like to see a bit more of Lewis Hall as well. I think he's a really interesting option at left back. But in terms of the big winners, obviously we've seen how bad England are without Harry Kane. I'd tie into what Henry was saying in his previous answer as well. I think it would be lunacy to consider a starting 11 without Jude Bellingham in it. And extending that a little further into the realms of the unlikely, I cannot believe that Thomas Tuchel can take a look at that England group and say they wouldn't be better without Trent Alexander-Arnold in it. You know, I wouldn't say whatever they lacked in the width from the fullbacks tonight. There's no one who I can think, maybe with the exception of Reece James, who's obviously got a hamstring injury at the moment, but I don't think there's anyone in that squad who can hold a candle to Trent Alexander-Arnold and his technical ability. I don't think he's a bad tourist either. Quite frankly, I find that one an absolute mystery. Whatever's gone on there with Thomas Tuchel, and clearly something has, because you don't relegate a guy of that talent down to 6th or 7th choice right back. On paper, that seems like madness to me. So I'd say it's also been a good break for him, just in terms of highlighting what England don't have currently.
Well, I mean, Thomas Tuchel, for his part, says that there's no problems there with Trent Alexander-Arnold. We'll see whether he changes his mind on the Real Madrid player. Telegraph have got this big splash and the big headline. What is the plan now, Thomas? But what is the plan, Henry? I mean, do you think there's much that he will change in the next couple of months? Are there any names that he might consider more carefully, or any names that might have screened themselves out now for that squad announcement by 30th May?
I mean, I think Ghana probably had a decent couple of games, but I think it's all the familiar faces. I think you can probably pick 9 of England's starting 11. I think it's just the 2 fullback roles that are up for grabs. I think if you have Anderson and Rice in the centre, you have Rashford or Gordon on the left, Saka when he sort of returns to fitness and to form on the right, and Bellingham playing off Kane. I think that is good. You know, Gay and Konsa, and obviously Jordan Pickford, and how reliant are England on him. I just think it's the fullback positions. Ghana obviously can play at fullback as well. I completely echo Riyadh's views on Trent Alexander-Arnold. I think if you're the starting right back for Real Madrid, you know, who are heading for fairly major trophies, or certainly competing them, and we've seen what he's done in the Premier League and the Champions League, big games. I mean, the issue, you know, we've all been talking to Tuchel in the last few days, few months about Trent Alexander-Arnold. He keeps on saying, well, it's about profile. And I think he means that defensively, he's just not completely convinced. And look, we know that Trent Alexander-Arnold, you know, he's not Gary Neville. He's not the greatest right back that England have ever had. But what he gives you, whether it's overlapping, whether it's crossing, whether that's that 70-yard diagonal to release a Gordon or a Rashford on the left, whether it's pinging the ball through to Harry Kane's feet and turning defence into attack, he is the man to make England special in transition. And I think it's madness that England and Tuchel can even consider going to the World Cup with one of, well, probably their best passer over range. So, yeah, I think it's madness. Plus also, like Maguire, he can take a penalty. Like Maguire, he can be a threat later on if he comes on off the bench. So I totally agree with Riyadh. I think some of the absent friends tonight should really be looked at even more by Tuchel.
We'll find out in just under 2 months' time who he goes for, who will be on the plane.
次は解説です。今回は過去に解説したことがない新しい表現もいくつかありましたので、本日の解説をチェックしてみましょ
う。The answer tonight was pretty bleak.
ブリックはかなりネガティブで強い評価を表す単語です。単にバットよりも希望がない、見込みがないというニュアンスが含まれます。スポーツでは外の内容や戦術の評価が非常に悪い時に使われます。ブリックパフォーマンスやブリークアウトロックの形でよく使われます。特に専門家や解説者が厳しい評価をする場面で品質で少しフォーマルで、記事や分析でもよく見られます。ニュアンスとしては、グルーミやグリームに近いです。未来が見えない感じをイメージすると覚えやすい。The
answer tonight was pretty bleak. The answer tonight was pretty bleak. I'm just being a little facetious there.
Facetious は冗談っぽい、軽口のという意味ですが、単なるユーモアとは少し違います。場にふさわしくない軽さや、少し皮肉を含んだニュアンスがあります。そのため、相手によっては、不真面目と受け取られることもあります。スポーツのインタビューなどでは、ちょっと冗談で言っただけという場面でよく使われます。I'm just being facetious という形は非常に品質です。これは本気ではない、軽く言っているだけという意味になります。スとしてはサーカスムよりは軽く、ジョークよりは皮肉よりです。文脈をしっかり理解することが重要な単語です。
I'm just being a little facetious there. I'm just being a little facetious there, or sort of innate understanding between the two of them.
innate は生まれつき備わっている性質や能力を表す単語です。努力して覚えたスキルとは違い、自然に持っている感覚を表します。スポーツでは innate understanding の形でよく使われます。例えば、innate understanding は言葉にしなくても分かり合えるような自然な連携です。サッカーでは、2人の選手の相性や感覚的なつながりを表すときに便利です。似た意味のナチュラルと近いですが、innate の方がやや硬く、知的な響きがあります。記事や解説、インタビューでもよく出る上級語です。生まれつきという感覚を持って覚えると使いやすいです。
or sort of innate understanding between the two of them, or sort of innate understanding between the two of them.
I suppose positions now vis-a-vis the World Cup.
ウィザビは少し固めで知的な響きのある表現です。意味は何々との関係でや何々に対してが基本です。スポーツでは選手の立場や序列を説明するときによく使えます。 例えば vis-a-vis the World Cup なら、ワールドカップとの関係で見た立場という意味です。普通の会話では、about や regarding の方がよく使われます。そのため、vis-a-vis は新聞、解説、評論で特に見かけやすいです。また、元々の意味は、向かい合ってです。文脈によっては前置詞のようでに働き、意味を自然に訳すことが大切です。
I suppose positions now vis-a-vis the World Cup. I suppose positions now vis-a-vis the World Cup.
Well, I think it would be lunacy to consider a starting 11.
ルネシーは非常に強い言い方で、正気とは思えない、馬鹿げているという単語です。我々の世代で知らない人はいないと思いますが、ビジュアル系ロックバンドのルナシーの由来となっている言葉です。スポーツでは、監督の判断や選手起用に強く反対するときに使われます。柔らかいな反ではなく、かなり感情のこもった批判です。マドネスとかなり近いですが、ルネシーの方が少し硬く、評論的に聞こえることがあります。新聞やパネルディスカッションでも使いやすい単語です。ただし強い表現なので、日常会話で使うときは少し大げさに響くこともあります。判断や作戦を強く否定したいときに便利な言葉です。
Well, I think it would be lunacy to consider a starting 11. Well, I think it would be lunacy to consider a starting 11. You can hold a candle to Trent Alexander-Arnold and his technical ability.
Hold a candle to は比較でよく使われるイディオムです。特に否定形で使われ、全く叶わないという強い意味になります。語源としては、昔弟子が職人の作業を照らすためにろうそくを持つことすらできないレベルだったことから、その人に比べる価値すらない、全く及ばないという意味で使われます。直訳では意味がわかりにくいので、セットで覚えるのが重要です。かなりカジュアルな表現なので、会話や解説向きです。ニュアンスとしては、差がかなり大きいことを強調します。
You can hold a candle to Trent Alexander-Arnold and his technical ability. You can hold a candle to Trent Alexander-Arnold and his technical ability.
いかがでしたか？サムライブルーが3ライオンズに勝利したのが史上初めてだということが勝利した時に初めて知ることでもありますが、こういう歴史的な勝利がスペインやドイツやブラジル相手に何度も味合うことができ、日本の次の犠牲者となるのはフランスなのかアルゼンチンなのかポルトガルなのか期待感しか感じません。個人的には1試合だけを見ると少しつまらないとも思える試合でしたし、1点を取られるリスクを負ってでももう1点を取りに行く試合を見たかったところですが、将来的、長期的に考えれば日本サッカーにおいてこの一勝の持つ意味がどれだけ大きいのかもわかりますので、勝利できたことが何よりも良かったと思います。ワールドカップ前の親善試合の結果が良いと、本大会でこけるかもしれないというのが一番の懸念かもしれませんが、それ以上に期待感と信頼感さえ感じるようなチームになっていると個人的には感じてますので、あと70日、ただただ楽しみに待ちたいと思います。本日もご視聴いただきありがとうございました。またすぐにお会いしましょう。